Over the last 2 years, I've been working to improve my habits of backing up my photos. I started first with building a RAID hard drive setup within my computer. Then I added a large external hard drive for backups. And then last year I purchased a cloud backup from Backblaze so that I could back up my entire computer. But the one place I've still been lacking is backing up my photos when I'm out on travel to make sure that those photos get home, especially when I'm at a location that I know I probably won't ever be going back to. Over the last few months, I've been exploring options that were both economically feasible and also would help me to continue to travel lightly. Thanks to a tip from a friend, I came across the AmberX Personal Cloud and I knew I had to give it a try. Hello everyone, I'm Will Cheney. It's been a few weeks now since I received this AmberX Personal Private Cloud from LatticeWork so that I could give it a test. In this video, I'm going to walk through what this device is, the key specs, what comes in the box, what's required to get it started, 2 use cases that I had for it, and then finally my likes and dislikes about the unit. So let's get started. So what is AmberX? It's a personal private cloud that runs on your own home network and internet. So essentially it's just a network attached storage that is all plug and play and ready to go. So you're not gonna have to buy extra hard drives or anything like that, and the setup is actually really easy on it. One of the perks with this system is that you're gonna be uploading from the field when you're backing up to the cloud. You're gonna be actually backing up to a unit that's at your house and not to another company's server somewhere and agreeing to terms where they get to use your data the way that they want to. In return, you get to use their service. And like I said, you get to use it from the fields, and the way that you do that is there's a Android app and there's also an iOS app. And then on top of that, if you've got your laptop configured for it and you're out somewhere, you can also push backups from that as well. So being that there's a phone app, you can back up your camera roll from it. You can access those files from anywhere in the world. You can back up and share desktop files. You can also control who has access to those files by setting permissions within the system. So kind of like Google Drive, if you ever collaborate with people on there, or Dropbox. Same type of thing where you can go in and share out the files to people and they'll have access to it. So in a nutshell, it's like having Google Drive or Dropbox or iCloud, one of those services, except you're in control and it's sitting at your house and not in a giant server farm somewhere. And then the other feature that the AmberX adds is the ability to plug in with a USB, and you can upgrade and add external storage. So let's roll on over to the key specs. So the first one I always look at is the price when looking at something like this. And the price on this unit is $249.99. With the unit, which I'll swap over to now, that I'm holding here, you get a whole bunch of ports in the back. One of them is a USB 3.1 Type A port. You also get a Ethernet connection. You get a HDMI, so if you want to plug this thing into a TV, and maybe if you want to keep movies on it or something like that, you can use it in that way. And then you've also got your 12 volt, 2 amp DC input here. If you turn it over here to the side, you also get an SD card input. So that allows you, if you want it to just plug an SD card in, if that's what your camera uses, you can plug it directly into this and offload the photos into it, rather than having to go through your home network to do that upload. Inside the system for wireless connectivity, it does come with a Wi-Fi connection. And then there's also Bluetooth that's used only for the first time setup. So you'll have to have a Bluetooth connection to be able to configure and set up the device. Looking at the storage that comes with this unit, inside of it there's a 512 gigabyte SSD that again is not upgradable. However, you can use that USB 3 input on the back to provide an expanded storage solution. So looking at the size of this little unit, it is 4.9 inches by 4.9 inches by 1.5 inches tall. So fairly small little unit, and it weighs in at 300 grams or about 2/3 of a pound, so pretty light. So what comes in the box when you purchase the unit? You get obviously the unit that's going to act as your storage device. You get your 12 volt DC power adapter, and then it also comes with a Ethernet cable that you can use to plug directly into your router if you'd like. With regards to the setup and what's required to get this thing up and running, like I said, you do have to have some type of a phone with an app or a tablet, because it does require that Bluetooth connection to get started to set this thing up and get it connected to your Wi-Fi. Once you get done with that, then you can move on over to using the desktop app or actually porting directly into it from your computer. And then I think this one's kind of obvious. It's required is a home network to be able to connect you to the outside world on the internet. So coming up next, I'm going to walk through 2 use cases that I wanted to test out for using this unit whenever I'm out on travel. And then I'm going to walk through what I liked and disliked about the AmberX. But first, be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments if you have any questions that I haven't answered about the AmberX. All right, let's keep moving forward. So let's talk about the 2 use cases that I wanted to take a look at. The first one that I wanted to look at was how whenever I was out on travel, I could back up the photos from my camera without having a laptop with me. I've talked about that in some of my other videos that I travel light and usually only with a carry-on only whenever flying. So the laptop usually is one of the things that I leave at home because I don't usually go through and edit a lot of photos while I'm out there, as I prefer to have my home set up whenever I'm doing that sort of work. So I wanted a way to back up just being able to use my cell phone, and one of the ideas I had was, well, hey, if there's a little unit that I can just plug my XQD card into and then plug in an external hard drive that can do the file transfer for me, I can get those files onto other devices so that I can spread out my hard drives a little bit. And if I lost a bag, I'll have another one sitting in the other bag so I don't lose all those photos. So this is something that you can do with the AmberX. I had looked into some other things like a Raspberry Pi, and that solution would have ended up costing around $150. This one at $250, it seemed a little more user-friendly, and I can tell you that through using it this way, it definitely was. And the way this solution works is when I take this unit with me out to the field, I will plug in my XQD card to it and then use the phone app to transfer those photos from the XQD to the internal storage on the AmberX unit. And that provided that easy interface to get those photos off of there. However, though, there is a little easier way to do this, and with a little bit of work, you can actually just do this with your cell phone or a tablet. If you have the right inputs, you can plug in your XQD card reader, or maybe it's your CF Express card reader, or an SD card reader, and you can just back up those photos straight onto your iPhone. And then that's where the AmberX, I think, plays an even better role, though. So if you leave that unit at home and you do that transfer onto an iPhone, your Android device, or your tablet, now if you're connected through the AmberX app and you've got good internet wherever you're at, you can actually send those files back to your house. So before you've even left the location, your photos have already made it home. So like I said, though, the one downside to that is it is going to be reliant on the internet connection that you have wherever you're at. So yes, with a cell phone, you can push it out over the cell phone network. Obviously, that's going to be limited by whatever cell phone provider you have and cell phone plan you have and what data limits that they're going to push on you. But that is an option, and to me, that second option there of leaving that unit at home and pushing files to it, I think that's really where the AmberX plays a critical role in somebody's backup solution. So let's talk about my likes about this unit. The first one, it does come with a SSD. It's not just a regular spinning hard drive, so it is solid state. And it comes with 500 gigabytes, which is decent, and I like that it actually comes with some storage. The reason I say that is because I've looked into doing a home network attached storage system, and I always get hung up at the point where I'm like, okay, the unit's already several $100s, and then on top of that, I got to buy the hard drives to put into it. And I just get hung up on money with that one. So I like that it comes with a 500 gigabyte drive, and I can just plug in USBs to the back of it if I need to expand it. The next thing that I liked about it, it was very easy to configure and get set up on the iPhone app, and I would assume it's the same way on Android. It's very intuitive, and they really walk you through step by step on how to do it, and I had zero issues getting it up and running. And I think for anybody, it's a really easy solution if you can just follow the steps to swipe through them on a screen. And then on top of that, I found that LatticeWork on their website for the AmberX, they did a really great job with documentation. I've seen a lot of stuff with cameras where it's just, go read the manual and you'll figure it out. But they had actually a really decent search function on their website that could actually go through and find those terms anytime that I just had a question on how to do something. So it made it really easy to get up and running with the AmberX system. So the next thing that I really liked about the unit was that there's no subscription fee. So $250 does sound a little steep up front. However, when you think about it, that most cloud storage services, their 2 terabyte plan, which is what you would have to go get in order to have something that would compare to 500 gigabytes, because they don't offer at that level, it's going to run you $10 a month. So at roughly 2 years or 25 months, so 1 month longer than 2 years, you've paid off your AmberX. So if you think about that lifetime of having a cloud network system, it's gonna pay for itself relatively quick to be able to have that system, and the fact that, like I said, you can plug in a USB and you can expand that storage on it. So the other thing that I liked about it, and this just goes along with clouds, is it opens it up to where you can have that remote file sharing from anywhere in the world, and you can share that with other people so that they can access it. A lot of the times with a couple of my close friends, I'll share photos with them before I've shared them out with the rest of the world. And sometimes I've come into issues in the past where somebody didn't have the right type of Google account or whatever it may be, and this allows me just to go set that up with them with their email address and gives them direct access to those files. The last thing that I want to run through when talking about this unit is the dislikes. Really the biggest one that I had with it was just the connection sometimes felt slow to it. So what I mean by that is whenever I would be doing uploads from my phone, like when I did my original camera roll upload to it, to the AmberX, my upload speed was running about 3 megabytes per second. I kind of expected that to be higher than that. I don't know exactly what number I was expecting, but 3 megabytes seemed very slow. So for me to upload all of the photos that were already on my iPhone took it about 12 hours to do. And I know that may not be completely on the AmberX, as it's also going to be dependent on your Wi-Fi network at home. So what I did do, just to see what would happen, that was running at just the Wi-Fi upload. I did go ahead and connect the AmberX directly into my router, and that did improve the speed a little bit. So it took it up to about 5 megabytes. At one point I was seeing a pretty steady rate of about 6 megabytes per second. And then a few times it would jump up into the 7 to 7.5 megabyte range. So it did definitely improve it by hardwiring, which I did expect. So after trying that out, I decided to actually go get a new and better router. And when testing the connection between my phone and that router, I was able to get almost 700 megabits per second data transfer speed between the network and my phone. And that translated into a higher upload speed to the AmberX, bringing it up to usually around 17 megabytes per second, but also jumping up to 25 megabytes per second. So that was equivalent to about 200 megabits per second. So still about a third of what the network connection showed I could get, but that was still an improvement. I just still wish that I could have gotten better speeds at that point. My other dislike, I think just with how relatively cheap storage is, I feel like I would have liked it if they had put a 1 terabyte SSD inside of the unit versus a 500 gigabyte unit. Storage is kind of cheap, and maybe that was just something where they were trying to hit the $249 price point versus maybe $300 that they would have had to charge for a 1 terabyte. But I would have just liked to have had a little bit more initial storage out of the box. And then going right along with that, I wish there was a way that I could actually just swap out the SSD that's inside of it if I wanted to upgrade the storage and just keep it internal to the system. I'm aware there's probably some limitations there just by the fact that they probably have some of their own firmware sitting on the internal SSD, so it's probably why you can't do that. But again, that gets counteracted by the fact that I can just plug in, 12 terabyte external hard drive if I really need to get tons of extra data to be able to access on this cloud unit. So wrapping this video up at this point, I'm super excited about this unit and being able to have that peace of mind that I can get my photos home no matter what. And that's just one less thing that I'm gonna have to worry about whenever I'm out on vacation with my family. Along with that, the price honestly is really great, especially when you're comparing it to what the cost that you would pay monthly to get a cloud service. And I think its ease of use really opens up opportunities for people that wouldn't be comfortable setting up a NAS system within their house and then also the upkeep that goes along with that and understanding all of the technical background to it. So at this point, if you're thinking about purchasing the Amber X, I'd really appreciate it if you use my affiliate link down below in the comments. That helps me keep this channel going. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe while you're here. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I'll catch you next time.